Hi, I'm Susanna and this is my March reading wrap-up. I finished 2 novels in March. Let's start with The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. This is a literary fiction. An Andalusian shepherd boy, Santiago, has a recurring dream about finding a treasure at the Egyptian pyramids. A Romani woman and a mysterious old man convince him to follow his dream, and the boy embarks on a journey across the Sahara Desert. The Alchemist is Paulo Coelho's second novel, originally published in Portuguese in 1988. This English translation is by Alan R. Clark. This was a short but impactful read. I almost wanted to reread it immediately and annotate it, which is something that I almost never do to a book. The story itself is simple and straightforward. This is a tale of self-discovery where we and the boy learn about the importance of listening to your heart, recognizing opportunity, and following your dreams. As such, The Alchemist reads almost like a self-help book. Now, I don't usually read self-help, but the novel format made the material less preachy and more easily digestible, and the lessons in the book resonated with me. If I have one criticism for this book, it's the thinness of female characters. Or rather, female character, since Fatima is practically the only female character in the book. If we don't count the short scenes with the Romani fortune teller and a nameless merchant's daughter. Fatima and the merchant's daughter never emerge as individuals. They serve only as hindrances to the boy's quest for the treasure and thus fulfilling his destiny. Nevertheless, I enjoyed this book a lot and I would definitely recommend it to everyone. I gave it 5 stars. The second book I finished is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is a young adult fantasy. 18-year-old Iris Winnow dreams of becoming a writer, but right now she needs to hold her crumbling family together. With her brother fighting on behalf of gods on the front line and her mother turning to liquor, Iris strives to win a promotion as the columnist at the Oath Gazette. At night, she writes letters to her brother and slides them under a wardrobe door, where they vanish. But instead of finding her brother, the letters end up in the hands of Iris's rival at the newspaper, handsome and cold Roman kid. When he anonymously writes back, a magical connection ties their lives together. Divine Rivals is the first book in Rebecca Ross's duology Letters of Enchantment. This was a great fast-paced young adult fantasy. The book is set in the fantasy world where gods have awakened from their long sleep and are again waging a war against each other, using people and magical creatures as their soldiers. After a devastating incident, Iris gets a job as a war correspondent and exposes the truth to her hometown's residents, who have thus far been unconcerned about the war raging outside their borough. She continues writing letters to a mysterious pen pal, slowly falling for him until Roman suddenly arrives at the war zone, and Iris's feelings become conflicted. Who does she like more, the unknown letter writer or her fiercest rival? The setting reminded me of World War I with its trench warfare and aerial bombings. Except the bombs are not dropped by planes, but by dragons. Even though I loved the world building, I would have wanted more of it. We learn a little about the gods and their ancient rivalry, but otherwise the world building felt a little shallow. I'm hoping the second book in the duology delves more deeply into the world. My only issue with this book was how fast it changed from slow burn romance to moderately spicy. The slow burn was amazing. But then all of a sudden the characters not only confess their feelings for each other but talk about getting married. It made sense in the context of warfare and their experiences in the front, but it still felt very rushed. There was also a non-explicit sex scene which felt out of place considering that this book is marketed as YA and considering that the main characters had barely kissed at that point. But if you love a deliciously slow burn rivals to lovers romantasy in a fantasy war setting, you'll probably enjoy this book. I gave it 4.5 stars. I also finished the final 2 of my old high school textbooks. These are both about Finnish language and literature. And then it's time to talk about the books I plan to read in April. I'm currently in the middle of the second book in Letters of Enchantment duology Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. And I also want to read 2 other novels in April. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Sevin. And I want to start The Battle Drum by Sarah L. Arifi. This is the second book in her fantasy trilogy The Ending Fire. I read the first book, The Final Strife, last year. I'm also in the middle of 2 non-fiction books. Fashioning the Feminine in the Greek Novel by Catherine Haynes, and this massive psychology handbook in Finnish. And the final book I want to start in April is Susan Faludi's Backlash, The Undeclared War Against Women. Those were the books I read in March and my goals for April. Let me know in the comments what your favorite book in March was, and I'll see you in my next video.